All right, guys. I am working with a new headset. It's a noise canceling with a built-in microphone, so please let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm gonna have to be careful because there's a little bit of wind noise that I get when I'm speaking. I'm not sure if there's a pop filter I can get for the little microphone. So, um, how about we get on the live screen? Sorry, just got done getting everything set up, so sorry for the little lag there. Okay, all right, now we're good. I can see. But anyway, like I was saying, I'm working with the new headset and trying to keep it hands-free as well as get some sound cancellation so it's a little bit quieter for you guys in the playback. That way, if something's going on, or like at the moment, I have to have a little fan on in here because it gets really, really hot. So hopefully, I don't know, or hope that sound is not getting picked up by the microphone. I can't tell right now. I won't know till the playback. So I also am having a hard time hearing myself, so I will try to keep my voice modulated so it doesn't sound like I'm yelling into the microphone. So, all right, I'm just gonna have another sip of coffee, give it another little few seconds, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and jump in on today's project, which is making a busted canvas. So I'll be standing and sitting because sometimes if I sit too long, my legs ache, and then also they get tired if I stand. So I'll be up and down probably on and off throughout the live stream. And hopefully you can't hear me slightly slurping my coffee because I just made a fresh cup. It's really hot. Okay. All right. So this one should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to do my best. Since it's not really technically a chatty video, I'm going to try to keep the side chat down, at least initially, while I'm going through what am I going to be using today, and as I go through and give the demonstration on how to put together the busted canvas. It's so much fun. It's a new addiction. So I'm really happy to finally be finishing off some of the ones that I prepped for last year that I was never able to finish. So it should be a fun day and hopefully get some good information out to you guys if you catch this on the replay. But as always, before I forget to say it, YouTube likes it if you like, comment, share. If you happen to tune into the live stream, if you could, share it if you have the opportunity. If not, just grab a good beverage and enjoy. I don't know how long exactly this video will be. I have my quiet dryer that I picked up. It's one of the Ranger ones that when I need to dry stuff to kind of speed things along, it should not be too loud, especially now that I have the noise canceling headset. Tried to say headphones and headset at the same time. Hilarious. Okay. All right. Okay, well, we're already like 3 minutes in, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to give a quick overview of what am I using, the different products, because I generally forget to say that, so I'm just going to do it right off the bat and then just go ahead and get started. The only thing of note is that when I switch between the dryer, when I need to dry stuff like the acrylic paint or whatever, then it's time to plug in the um, glue gun. I have to do it separately just because I don't want to overload the circuit breaker and pop the power by accident. That has happened in the past. So when I'm using one heat element, I swap it out. I don't leave them both plugged in. Just one for safety's sake, and two that I don't cut the power because then, of course, that would immediately kill the live stream. So, okay. All right, that being said, my little Heat It tool by Ranger is plugged in, ready to go. Um, to start out, I'm just going to go from left to right, going over what I've got in front of me. This should be everything that I need, but thankfully with the hands free, if I need to grab anything else, it should block out most of the noise and make it easy for me to go get it and keep the sound consistent. Because that's also helpful. Because sometimes, obviously if I turn away, you can't hear me when I'm using my regular Yeti microphone. All right, so sorry. Froggy, I'm going to mute the mic for just a second. Okay, this is really handy because, like, if I have to sneeze or cough, I can pop it up and it should not record. Okay, all right, so from right to left, I don't know specifically what of these elements I'm going to use to finish off the busted canvas when we get to the final part, but I just pulled in things that I thought color-wise would complement the base colors in the cardstock that I attached to the canvas panel. So I just, like I said, did a variety. If I think of something else, then I may just go ahead and jump and grab it really quick. But I should have enough in front of me for what I need to do. And I did remember to dig out my wire snips if I need to cut something down. So I got those. This is a piece of cardstock from, it's a Stamperia paper pad, and I can't remember the name of it. I used it, I don't know if you can see them in here, but the first two larger canvas panels that I put together where it had the eyes and then the face peeping through is all from that same paper pad collection. If I still have the cover somewhere, I will pop it in the description for the replay if you're coming in and catching it there. So stay tuned. But this is from that same collection. I love the colors. I love the vintage vibe, the grungy vibe, all of it. This was just, I don't know if I can get any more, but I haven't looked and I'm not going to look until I finish using up what I got. So I'm trying to be really good about that this year, which is why I've been doing a ton of stash busting. So this is the base panel. When I crack open the top canvas panel, um, that's what you're going to see coming through is that really nice color. And I'm going to sneeze. All right, I think I'm done. I'm not sure. Come to find out, the fall is like my worst allergy season, and it's really warm. It is unusually warm here in southeastern Michigan. We're like running into the low 80s, which is never the temperatures we have, when we're like 3 steps from getting into October. So that is not helpful. So anyway, all right. So that is the panel that I am using as the base. And to attach this, let me go over that really quickly in case you're new to the whole busted canvas process. What got me started was the traditional method of making these busted canvases where I saw the crafters were taking a big, you know, brush and, or well, whatever, I guess I shouldn't say that, taking a brush, and what they did is they put down a layer of Mod Podge on the bottom panel. And when that dried, because I think it's important, you have to make sure that it's dried, otherwise you could burn the wet glue. And then once the Mod Podge dried, then what they did is they put their cardstock cut down to whatever size it is that they were using. These panels are 9 by 12, and then they put parchment paper over this bottom panel and used an iron or a heating element, whatever they have, to press it on. And what that does is it reheats the Mod Podge, um, and basically sticks the entire cardstock sheet to that bottom canvas panel. But because you're pressing on it, you don't get the air bubbles if you try to put like gel medium or something like that on the back of the cardstock and then attach it that way. It's just a neater, cleaner way to attach cardstock. The longevity of it, I'm not really sure, but once you have your panels together, it should not be a problem after that. So I just try to make sure that all the key spots on the cardstock are attached to that bottom panel. And for this one, I had already gone through and prepped the bottom of the canvas panel with black, just because I liked it and I'm never sure what I'm going to do. So I try to give a variety. Some are prepped with white, some are prepped with black. So I don't know that any of it will show, but if it does, it's no big deal. It just makes it part of the aesthetic. Because again, the goal here is not to make the opening look perfect, because there's so many cute ones that they do. But the way my brain works is I love to take that concept and kind of dump it on its head. So Like some of them I've literally destroyed the canvas and, just make like big jagged opening. That's the aesthetic that I really, really love. Like if I'm gonna bust a canvas, I'm gonna bust it. That's my goal. So that's the philosophy I come in with. But this is not any shade. At some point, I probably will do some of those canvas panels where the traditional way that I've seen them do it, where once you have your bottom panel set, then they cut into that top one. It almost looks like you're cutting a pizza, and then they roll up. So it's rolled open, which is really cute because, again, I love what they do, but this is the translation that my mind takes just because of this is the vibe that I am totally into right now. And again, in another year or so that could completely change and I could dip back in and go have fun with the traditional method or what I think of as the traditional method of doing the busted canvas. So just a little side story or behind the scenes story on how I come at this project. So um, then this is the top panel. And again, you need to make sure that the bottom and the top panels are the exact same size. There could be cheater methods, I guess, but I don't know how to do that, so I don't want to give any recommended ways to break the rules more than I already do. So just a little note about that. So I took the time and added a layer of gesso, and then I came in with texture paste and just kind of dabbed it on to give like a rougher texture. So you'll get some really nice variations in color when I come in with the acrylic paint. And as of right now, I'm kind of set on using, I have unbleached titanium. This is by the Liquitex, and a turquoise because I think if I mix it up and I get like a blue blend, that will really complement the colors in here, but I don't want it to be exactly matchy-matchy, if that makes sense. So I went ahead and prepped these ahead of time. And then on the inside, on that last shorts video I put up, making that larger busted canvas, where it was more like in golden tones, um, I loved the look of just taking a stamp. And the only thing I would say is, unless you have no choice, try to use a more permanent ink if you're going to stamp on the inside of the canvas panel. Just because when you're working with wet mediums and something spills, then you run into the risk of that paint getting reactivated or that ink getting reactivated. So for this reason, I like to use permanent inks that once they're dry, that's it. And if push came to shove, you could spread out a very thin layer of like a dark paint or whatever color, and then you could carefully stamp from that. You could, lay your stamp down on top of it, peel it up, and then use that because again, acrylic paint does dry permanent. Once it's dried, that's pretty much it. So sorry, these are kind of sliding around on my head. Um, so for the stencil for today, because again, I really like that look of just keeping it like white on the inside and then stamping. I will do black because there is some dark text in the pattern on this paper, so it'll kind of pick up on that and echo it. And then I might come in. These are ink pads that I got. Trying to remember to put these on the camera because while I'm talking, I'm trying to remember to look at you, so to speak, in the main camera for my face. But these are pads that I found in the discount section, I think at Michael's. I'm not sure, but just a note, when you're out looking for craft supplies, I really recommend your first stop go to the clearance section because normally these were completely out of price range, but picking them up when they put them in the clearance, I think I got these for, I can't remember for sure, but let's say I got them for like $5 each. That is phenomenal savings, especially on the Ranger products. So go there first, see what you're looking for. Maybe you can find it in the discount bin. If not, then definitely go in prepared with like coupons or 40% off or whatever, they have on special in terms of coupons for that month, week, day, whatever. So, um, but again, you're definitely going to want to come with something that's permanent. So, but as always, use what you got. If you don't, you don't, there's not much you can do about it. Because again, none of the crafting I like to put out is not something that I would want you to feel that you have to go buy all this crap and then bust your budget and then you're out of money. That's not the goal. We get what we can get and we have to work within that budget, and that is perfectly fine. So, cheater methods, knockoffs, bargain brands, workarounds, whatever we can do to cut down on the cost is absolutely, I think, probably the biggest goal in crafting because, we all know if you've been doing crafting for any length of time, you know how expensive the stuff can get. Sorry, I almost used a salty word. I try not to be salty in the language because, you never know who's tuning in. This is not made for kids, but it doesn't mean that they don't watch. So, I try to be careful. So this is the stencil that I chose. I like the script and I like the flower. So what I'm going to do is bring in a blending brush, and depending on which color set I decide to go with, I'll use that to ink up on the inside. And these are really handy. I can use a little bit of a bigger blending brush in here because it's a much larger space than when I'm working on the mini canvas panels, for obvious reasons. Bigger, you have more room, blah, blah, blah. So I really like these. My hands have gotten a little bit more used to it. They're not quite as comfortable as like the finger daubers and things like that, but these are also a lot cheaper. So I just go with it. I just sort of get my hands used to it. So these are the inks that I'm going to use for the inside. And again, that is the stencil. These are the brushes I'm primarily going to be using to put down any gel medium or gesso or whatever. And then I've got two things of water to rinse. And off to the side here, I don't think you can see it, I've got a roll of toilet paper, not toilet paper, geez, paper towel, sorry. Um, Paper towel is something, or toilet paper is something you can craft with. I've been seeing people take like a clean roll, obviously, and if you get it wet, then you can kind of mold it into different shapes. It'll get impressions, but I haven't tried that out. But technically, you can craft with toilet paper. But for today, I'm using the paper towel for wiping off excess, squeezing, cleaning the brushes and stuff like that. So, but these are the two. These usually work pretty good. If you like using a bigger brush, you totally can. Um, and in case I need to block anything off, I do have some low tack. It's the mint tape. I think I get it from scrapbook.com if I'm remembering. I am going to prep the inside here because I like that bright white or bright whiter color. So I'm going to use the gesso to prep this up, and it also gives me the opportunity to try to finish off this bottle. So there is that. I think that covered the mediums. These are the flowers and things I'm going to pick from. Um, this is the multi-matte medium. When it comes to putting the two panels together, what I like to do is spread a good layer of anything that's like a gel matte medium. This is like a gel matte medium. It's called the multimedia matte, but it basically functions the same way. It will give a more permanent bonder than if I just tried to use the hot glue alone. So I do a combination. So all along here, 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 and here, I will do a good dollop of the gel matte medium all the length of the sides, but I leave the corners free for a good dollop of the hot glue because that will give me that quick adhesion. It'll stick them together long enough for me to go ahead and finish off the project. And then as it sits, then, at, a couple days or so, then that gel medium or the matte medium layer should be dry. And then you've got a more permanent bonding. So that is what I'm going to use. So it's a combination, like I said, of the gel medium and the hot glue. And then for attaching like all these things, then I just strictly use the hot glue gun. If I was using metal embellishments, I would go again as best I can do that hot glue gel matte medium to hold that metal embellishment in place because hot glue typically does not hold long or not permanently when you're dealing with a metal embellishment. After time, that will separate. So again, combo package is usually your best bet if you need to be sure that something will stay together. So there is that. And again, the colors that I picked, I've got the turquoise blue, the unbleached titanium, but I could mix that up to white. I'm not sure yet. And then I like the iridescent graphite, because that's probably more of what the color is, the darker tones in here, where the cracks are in the text. But um, again, the goal is not to be matchy-matchy, it's to be complementary. Um, and I said that without flubbing, because sometimes, you get those little tongue twisters. And for the final thing, because I am absolutely addicted, like many crafters are, to the white splashes. So this is Dr. P.H. Martin's Pen White. It's not the bleed proof white, but it does pretty good. It stays more white than not. I haven't noticed it really absorbing colors too much unless I don't have a lot of splatter on there and it's going on top of like a super dark color or something that's wet. So anyway, but this gets the job done. But again, this is the Dr. P.H. Martin's Pen White that I'll be using for white splashes at the end. And for some added interest, I like using old book pages. And this one is really fragile, so I'm going to have to kind of be careful as I separate the pieces. So I might have to do a little bit of like puzzle style layout, because if it breaks apart, I might have to try to carefully line up the pieces so it looks more like one big piece, depending on how I want it to look when I'm done. But I thought that could be really fun, so I'll do a layer or play around with adding in some of the book pages. I don't know exactly how many of each element I'm going to use. I come in with crafting, and you've probably heard me say this before, that I have an idea of what I want to make. Like I need to sit down and make thank you cards, and then I'll get a bunch of stuff out, but then I just go. I'm not planning out, I'm going to cut this down to that and add this and all that. It's just sort of follow the flow as I'm crafting, just sort of go along with what's happening and then make adjustments depending on does it work, does it not work. So if I wanted to tap into writing parlance, there's plotters and pantsers. Plotters are people that need to know exactly what they're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Both methods work. You just need to figure out which one you are. You could be a blend. But then on the other hand, the people that just jump in there and start doing stuff, those are what are referred to as pantsers. So I am definitely a pantser. And occasionally, if necessary, I will plot stuff, but typically I just get stuff out and go. And that is very much fun. And I don't mean to be gross, but I need to, my allergies are kicking off. So give me one more second, I will mute, and then I'll vocally be right back. Okay. All right. So I think I went through all the things that I'm using. I've got my silicone mats down. This is the larger one to cover the outer area, and then keeping this one more in the focused area because one, the way it is on the screen, it'll help me keep the reminder of where my hands need to be because I'm much better at keeping my hands in the frame, but when you get distracted, sometimes they can start drifting south and then they go out of frame. So I will do my best to keep up with that. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the chat. And good morning to anybody if you're just joining in. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're coming from and or if you are picking up on the replay. So let me just refresh that really quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then we're going to go ahead and dip in. So, all right. So the first 24 minutes has just been, like I said, the overview. I wanted to kind of keep all the instructional background stuff in one spot. So then that way, as I get going, then, I can kind of chat about what am I doing and stuff like that. So, all right, we are ready to roll. And again, hopefully the volume in my voice, if you could let me know in the chat, is the sound good? Make sure that I'm not getting too hissy in my speech through the microphone and that the sound is staying consistent. All right, let's roll. So let me just clear this stuff out of the way. And yeah, just like I think in this industry, like doing crafting and stuff, it's really hard to not constantly be picking up new addictions. That is the hazard. So anytime I can do some stash busting to use the stuff up before I go hit the clearance racks and stuff is a good day. Because there's still plenty of things sorry, excuse me, when I got the filing cabinet behind me, they were giving them away at work. They're trying to go as paperless as they can in the school district that I work for. So they had all these empty filing cabinets, and I got this really big black one right here behind me. I know the small thing, it's kind of hard to see. It might be off camera, I'm not sure, but it's big. I am like just a little bit taller than this filing cabinet, and about 90% of my papers and some other stuff fit in there, so that freed up a lot of space on the other shelves that, used to be crammed with paper. So it made it easier to spread stuff out. Because my running joke is crafters can suffer from empty shelf syndrome. And by that I mean when we empty a shelf, then suddenly we have the need and the urge to go fill it. So that means shopping. And so to avoid getting the empty shelf syndrome, I try to refill stuff as I move things around in here. Because it's for me personally, and everybody's craft room is going to be totally different. I don't mind it looking coordinated, but I don't want it to particularly, I'm not focused on, everything is the same color. And again, it is totally your aesthetic. There's no shade on that. I drool over all those beautiful IKEA units and stuff that I see crafters get. And, you know, I don't mind looking and enjoying visually their craft room, where it's tidy, they know exactly where to go and to get it. But I have to be honest with myself. That is not me. That is not my brain. So I keep it to controlled chaos in here. And I am, for this reason, more focused on does it at least function? Function over form. Because, yeah, no, my brain is like hilarious on good days. So you've seen examples of that in some of the other live streams where it's just like glitch, glitch, glitch. But thankfully today is a pretty good day. And again, I also have coffee to help. So we like that a lot. Ooh, sorry, that was really loud. Let me be careful here. All right. If I accidentally hit the mic, then that is not going to be quiet. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is move my stuff aside that I'm not going to be using right now. And I'm very proud of myself. I made myself go through and tidy up the craft room here, so I made sure that I maximized the space because it was a bit of a slower go this morning. Well, most mornings are a slow go, but when I wanted to just sit and continue drooling into my coffee, I made myself clean. So we have a good space. I shouldn't be tripping over anything except my own feet, and it'll be a much safer experience for me anyway. So, all right. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, good. I should be able to polish this thing off today because I really am trying to use up the stuff that's in here. Because the next step, once I use up the pre-bought stuff, and I know for sure I've mentioned that in other videos that I'm going to be coming on and doing tutorials, like live stream tutorials, showing how to make your own like gessos, texture paste, and stuff like that. And as and where I can remember where the links are from the people that I learned these things from, I will add them in the description in the replay of all the live streams. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here. So I try to acknowledge the source videos as much as possible. But sometimes when I get around to doing the technique, I can't refine that video if I forgot to save it. So you can kind of imagine how often that happens with a brain like mine. Uh, Sometimes that's a good thing to work with, having a mind that's like popcorn, just going off in eight directions all at once. And then sometimes, I could wish to be a little more slow and steady. Um, okay, so I'm just getting the gesso out. I don't need like a huge layer, which is why I'm not using the heavier style of gesso that I have. Um, I think it's Art Alchemy or something like that. I'm not sure the name of it, but it's like a really nice, thick, heavy gesso that I like to use for certain things. But for something like this, I tend to stick with the thinner gesso that's easier to spread and it dries faster. So, yeah, it's going to be really good to use this up. I don't think I have another jug of gesso in here of the white. I think I found a black one I didn't realize I still had. It's like Christmas, man. Every time I reorganize this craft room, I'm finding stuff that I bought that it got lost. Um, so yeah. But then of course at that point I've already bought like another jug or two because I thought it was out. So funny. But, you know, it's crafting. It is absolutely crafting. It's all part of the experience. Making mistakes is about as important as learning the technique because then you learn how to fix it. And a lot of times, if something didn't work, then to force you to go outside that box, then you end up coming up with a new technique that you like, that you want to try. Like that one little shorts video I put up where it was a sublimation fail, and I realize now the problem was I forgot to get the heat tape when I was trying to iron that image on the sublimation paper inside the reverse canvas, but I didn't tape it down, which means you have to be careful because then the paper is sliding around and you know, off here to my right, there's what, six rolls of heat resistant tape that I just picked up because they had them on discount on Amazon. And did I remember? And they're right there, right in front of my eyeballs, basically. But so it was a fail. So I put that aside. And then in the other shorts, you see where I was able to complete the project. I used the printout copy of that image and, got it in there and got it attached and all that. But then after I was done with that reverse canvas, I went into the sublimation fail and I thought this actually looked really cool because I try not to throw stuff out if it doesn't work because if you set it aside, sometimes you can think of a way to flip it, or you can just cover it in gesso, depending on what it is, and then start over. Like if your colors go wrong, or they get muddy, or they don't look the way you wanted to, then, I recommend don't throw it out first. Unless something is physically damaged beyond repair, in my opinion, that's about the only time you should throw it out. But if you are so sick of looking at it for that moment and that day, just put it away, take it out of your eyesight, let it percolate for a while, and then sometimes when you think about it or you see it again, then you can kind of come at another angle. So, because again, the goal is to try to preserve as much of our crafting supplies as we possibly can, because, especially with all the interesting budgeting stuff going on, they're not cheap. So we want to get as much bang for our buck. And that's also what kind of led me to try to get ahead of the prices going up, to start researching ways to make my own stuff and then share that with you because, I know there's so many other good videos and content out there, but I am completely biased, and the crafting community, in my opinion, hands down, is always number one. Best community in the whole wide whole world. I love it. and the information that we can share, all the tips and tricks we can share to help each other out is like nothing short of amazing. So I give big love to you guys for this reason, because I, I think what is also good about this and this community is that we can all learn from each other, and it doesn't matter how long you've been crafting, because you could be having started in the crafting for like 5 minutes and come up with an amazing technique that nobody else that's been doing it for a while has thought of. So there's nothing wrong with that. And what level you are does not matter one bit. What your budget is does not matter one bit. You know, what space you have for your craft room doesn't matter. You know, the only thing I would recommend for craft space is be able to find the important bits that you need. That is my one recommendation. So the things that I know I use a lot or that I'm going to need more, I keep them all around my desk, because under the desktop, which was a door I flipped and turned it into the desktop, it sits on top of one, two, three cubbies. They're like the same style, same brand, same height, all of it, because of course the desk has to be level. So all the storage is under the desk, because these are the things that I keep close to me that I need to get quickly. So, you know, it's kind of a little outside of the craft project today, but just like an organization hack. And I might have mentioned that I do have a craft room organization video that I put up. If I remember in the replay, in the description of the replay, I will link that in case, you know, getting your room organized, there might hopefully be some tips in there that you can use while you go about getting your craft room set up if you're new to it. Or if it's become a massive hairball and you need to rework your craft room because you can't find squat, then hopefully, again, that will help. So I try to keep the tips to whatever stage you're at in your organizing experience, and I'm always learning new stuff. And because things are coming in and out, I have to shift for the most part stuff in here to accommodate the changes. It stays fairly fluid, but with this filing cabinet now, at least where the shelves and the drawers are at is going to have to be permanent, because I cannot fit another piece of furniture in here, and I cannot move anything else around because I am not giving up that filing cabinet. That was the best thing ever in the whole world when I was able to get it. And it was free because they were giving them away. So I also had picked up one for my husband to take up north to store all whatever his stuff is up there. So we like free stuff, man. Always keep an eye out, because getting free stuff never, ever, ever goes out of style, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to take another sip carefully. All right, I think the gesso is covered to what I want, and it feels dry, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing the inking on the inside. So I think I'm just going to stick with the black. So, and again, I'm not looking for a perfect stenciling, but to get the idea and to get enough color down and enough of the image down that you can see it well enough when I start peeling open the front of the canvas. So, anywho, all right, trying to get the habit of refreshing the chat. So if I missed anything, my apologies. Good morning, good afternoon. And let me refresh. Okay, all right. Doing pretty good. We're at 38 minutes and I've got a good start on the project, and remembered to go over the stuff, because that is the one thing I am forever forgetting, is putting it out there. What am I using? All right, so I'm just gonna hold this down as best I can. And again, like I said earlier when I was going through the stuff that I'm using, you're definitely gonna want to, if you have it, work with a permanent ink, paint, or whatever. So that way, as you come back onto the front, if you're working with paint or gel medium or something that's wet that could accidentally reactivate the ink, the paint, or whatever, having a permanent substance makes it a lot easier to work with so you don't get any mistakes. So I will have to kind of move this around. It's a little bit too big because of course I couldn't pick one that was going to fit right down in here because, you know, me being me, why would I do that? However, you know, it's flexible enough and I shouldn't kill it that it'll get the job done for today. So I think that's probably about good. Try not to let it slide too much as I work on the other side here. And again, I am not going for perfect. I'm not going for perfection. Because I think sometimes if we get too focused on it has to be perfect, then we will psych ourselves out from the project or trying a new project. Um, so I'm one of the things that I've been slowly working on is not being hyper focused. When I see something I want to try, but then I think I can't do that perfectly, and then, you know, that's shouldn't be that way. We should just be able to just try it and have fun with it and not worry. All right, let me see. Okay, I think that is perfect. I think we're good. I'm going to leave it like that because, again, the whole opening is not what's going to be cut into. So most of the white edges should still be out of sight. But again, it won't matter if they're there or not. Not really. But I got the main part was in the center. And this was a stencil pack I got off of Amazon. It was a while ago, so I'm not sure where the prices are at, but you know, you can start there, see what happens. If not, check clearance bins at your local craft stores. I mean, even the cheap stores now, and I will repeat this a lot just because that is a massive, massive cost savings thing to tap into is going to the discount stores. Like here, the Dollar Tree is huge and they have a much larger crafting section than they used to. So they got smart and tapped into the crafting industry, and that also saves us an amazing amount of money. You know, you have to kind of pick carefully. Some of the things they're still working on bumping up the quality of it, but they have come a long way. Um, Last year, I cut down 20 sheets of white cardstock, made 46 by 6 cards, and I used up the entire 24 pack of like watercolor looking cardstock from the Dollar Tree. It was really nice, heavy quality, and I think that was the first complete stash bust that I did because at the end, in the pieces that I had to trim down, there were like the little strips. On the last, I don't forget how many cards, was it two or four? I can't remember now, but either way, I took those colorful strips, lined them up more or less in rainbow fashion because it was like a bunch of rainbow colors, and then turned them into candles and then stamped in a big stamp Happy Bee Day at the top and used up every bit. But at that point, it was $1.25 for 24 sheets of good weight cardstock, and I got 40 cards out of that pack, and I used up that 20 sheet white cardstock I had picked up from Amazon, like I think 4 years prior to when I did the project. So again, stash busting is a huge friend, not only to keep stuff moving because, you know, there's always new pretty paper that we can get and we need to stop hoarding. All right, where are my wipes? I thought, oh, right here. Okay. I thought I had some. This was the other useful tool. Wipes, baby wipes. Um, they're good for quick cleanup, and when you wipe something down, it doesn't take long to dry. Like the stencil won't take long to dry at all. But it just helps to give a quick wipe down if you don't have time to take your stuff. Now, because this is a permanent ink, it may stain the stencil. I don't care. I just want to be sure that I don't have colors bleeding in the next time I come in to use the stencil. So staining is just fine. You just don't want to have clumps of like texture paste or loose paint or water reactive paint or anything ink on your stencils for the next time you go to use them. Because then if you have like, if you're trying to use white, like a white texture paste to lay down a textured layer on your project, and you have like, if this was water reactive black ink, then you're going to have gray texture paste. So, and again, that's kind of a tip for those of you that may be new. And I'm still learning. I mean, I think we're always still learning, especially mixed media, just because there's so many things that you can do with that kind of crafting. So, all right, I'm just trying to keep everything ready so I'm not struggling as I go through each part. So, got the gesso layer down, did the stenciling, and again, not looking for perfect, was not trying to get it to where it was all the way up to the edges. And we are now ready to start laying down some color on the front. I do recommend though, if you have a directional thing on your piece, try to stay aware of that because many times, especially like in card making, it gets hilarious where you get your thing together, like your embellishment or whatever, and then you go to put it on the card, but then you forget that your card is upside down or the wrong direction. So same thing can happen if you're doing directional things with your mixed media projects or whatever it is. Try to make sure you're staying aware of what direction your project is facing because then, you know, you could go through and end up finishing it off upside down. Ask me how I know, right? Okay. All right. I think what I want to do, hmm, I'm thinking, let me get that bottom piece back. All right. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a layer of the titanium white first, and then when it's partially dry, then what I'm going to do is come in and start adding in the turquoise. And then if I'm not quite happy with that blend, because I'm trying to, if I can get something around that shade, again, not to be matchy-matchy, but to complement, then yeah, let's see what we get. Because that's a nice thing with paint. If it's not going the way you want, put down some gesso and then you can try again. So let me move that out of the way because I don't need that. Let me get my white. All right, let me move this out of the way as well. I'm left-handed, so I try to keep my left side clear because I kind of go from this direction over. So that's why you'll kind of keep seeing me move stuff away because I feel mentally constipated if I have too much stuff on my left side. It's kind of a crude term, but it's the only way I can think of it because that is what it feels like. So, and then the other pro tip, learn to let your eyes tell you what you need to do. Your eyeballs will know, your brain will know, let your eyes communicate with your brain, and then they'll tell your hands what to do. And that can also cut down on mistakes. Doesn't eliminate, I don't think we would ever be um, mistake free per se, but when you learn to trust the process, trust your eyes, know what they're doing, your brain knows what it likes, what it doesn't like, and you start trusting in that, then it goes a little bit smoother. Because usually I find when I'm not listening is usually when crap goes wrong. So just something to be aware of if you're again new to the whole crafting experience. Yeah, I think the off-white was a perfect choice. Okay. And then you can see, especially when you come in with darker colors, if you have texture down on here, it looks really cool, the effect, when it starts picking up the grooves and stuff in the texture. But yeah, this was definitely a good choice. Because there's nothing really white, and even if I come in with some whiter elements in the flowers and stuff, because that will also work with the inside being white, so it'll kind of I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, so I'm just going to shut up. Just keep putting down this, and again, this is unbleached titanium. So I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself here. So, all right. Hello, hello to any new viewers. Welcome. I am doing my best to keep up and say hello as I see people pop in. And let me refresh the chat because I do need to remember. Oh, hi Jenny. How are you? It's been a minute. Thank you. Yeah, it's I'm obsessed with like the turquoise colors and like bronze and the tans and goldy ones right now. But welcome, welcome. Happy to see you. And I tell you, crafting is a whole lot better than having to go back out and do laundry or dishes or any boring household chores. So I am always a fan to be in here. Okay, all right, so I think I got that down. Let me swish my brush and then I'm gonna dip into the turquoise and let's see how this blends. I've never blended these before, so we get to experiment together, I guess. So let me just put a lot. I don't want a whole lot. I'll just put like a couple spots and then I'll keep a wet brush. That helps with the spread. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Okay. All right. This is fun. Because I like having the titanium as like that base layer, and then you start getting some interesting blends. And for fun, I could come in with some white and see what that does, but let me finish working with the blue here. All right, I'm gonna try this. I am waiting to restock my paper towel, not paper towel, jeez, I'm telling you, man, words today are hilarious. Newspaper is good. I see a lot of people that do like painting, like with acrylics or whatever. They use newspaper to blot the project. But the high school near in my school district, they had an all call for craft supplies. So I literally dug through every corner of this room and donated as much as I could because, ooh, wow. Oh, I really like that. Let me zoom in. I don't know how much that's showing. Um, Yes, I still remember or forget that I have a Zoom. Where's my light? Okay, there we go. All right, I thought it looked a little dark there. Sorry, I didn't notice that earlier. Lighting is still constantly hilarious, but I really like that. That looks really good. Okay. All right, I think we might need a little bit more like of a greenish tone. Let me check my little bottles of distress paint. I can still chat while I do this because again, I also have to remember I'm on hands-free. So let me know while you guys are in here, how is the sound? Let me know how the sound is. Is it staying consistent? Am I talking too loud and all of that? Let me know how that is. Because obviously I can't hear myself and I don't want to either be too quiet or blowing your eardrums out. So please, please let me know. What are some of these colors? Ooh, that could be fun. I might have to dip into some of these other colors. Because again, it's like stash busting. All right, let me. Oh, I don't blame you for hiding in your craft room. That is definitely what I am doing today too, Jenny. I am with you 100%. 100. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try to do some blending here. Sorry, these things keep sliding because I've big mouth, tiny head. It's fun sometimes. So let me just scooch that to the side, but I really like the way that comes out, but I want to pick up a little bit more of that greeny tealy color. Not a lot, just a little, because again, it's not about matching and being perfect. It's just, oh, how about we open that? Complementing the project. So, ooh, crap. Okay, that was a bit much. Whoops. Let me start there. I'm gonna try a little dab. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted with the mixing here. Um, I'm starting to learn about color and I am getting better, but it's still work in progress. So let me have just a moment to try to do some blending here really quick. Where's my little brush? Okay, here we go. So I don't think I need a huge brush for that. So, oh, I think that's going to be really nice. Yep, well, I think we got it. And again, I'm not looking to add a lot, but I think that's going to add the perfect tone to the project here. So yay, that's a happy accident because for mixing and blending, I have no freaking idea what I am doing, just so we're clear. But I think, in my opinion, that is kind of the fun of it, is not knowing, because it's like a new discovery. All right, I won't be mixing all that in, but just to kind of get a little bit lighter tone for some variation. Okay. All right, so let me do that. And what am I going to put it on with? Sorry, let me rinse this one off a little bit. I don't mind if some of that turquoise gets mixed in, but then I don't want it to disrupt too much of the color that I've got. Oh yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. And then what I'll probably do is do the paper towel thing again to kind of blend it, so to speak. But yeah, I like that. That's working out really good. And then maybe I'll just go ahead and pick that up in some areas. Because I think that the hard part for me sometimes is getting the paint down or whatever the medium is on there fast enough before it starts to dry. Like if I am trying to figure out the blending thing. So I'm trying to learn how to work a little bit faster, if that makes sense. But yeah, I really, really like that. And then I think, let me wipe this up. Um, I need to come in with a little bit darker tones here, but let me do the mop off first with another stretch of paper towel. But let me know how you guys are doing. I like chatting, and I am doing my best to stay up to date with that. But let me know how it's going. How's your weekend? So perfect sound. Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know, Jenny. I appreciate that feedback. Because again, I get lost in the void sometimes, and then I'm not paying attention. So, but yeah, let me know how's it going. What are you guys working on at home? Like any big projects or just vibing? Oh, yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, we definitely we need to dirty it up a little bit. So I'm trying to think, what can I use to do that? First off, let me dry. Let me dry. Can you hear the fan at all or anything, Jenny, while I'm thinking of it? Um, because I do have to keep a fan running in here when the lights are all on and it's unusually warm on top of it gets super hot. And I'm at that fun age where I get hot flashes, so, we need a little bit of cool, 'cause holy moly. I think over there you guys call them hot flushes, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, they're not fun. Not at all. So, all right, I'm just drying this really quick. I'm not trying to ignore anybody, but I really like the way that color pattern came out, and it was fun using the paper towel or kitchen towel. Okay, my thing keeps getting stuck. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay. My cord keeps getting tangled under the wheel to my chair, and I'm trying not to yank too hard because all the stuff on the chair will probably go flying. That's where I'm keeping the fake flowers and stuff that I want to use to finish off. Okay. All right. I think that's dry enough. Because then what I want to do is kind of take a look, see, and start doing the Now let me leave that up there because I'll forget it. Forget the dryer is on the floor next to me and then I'm going to step on it. Uh, isn't it funny how often you have to work around the hazards of yourself in the craft room of dropping stuff, kicking stuff, stepping on stuff? Oh my God, who knew? What am I looking for? Gel. Oh, here we go. Matte medium. Okay. So I'm going to try to see what do I like with the paper. And I think what I might do while that's drying is take a second and let me ink blend this whole thing or a good bit of it just to get some darker tone in there. Because that I think would not quite be right, at least for what my eyes are looking for right now. Um, okay. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. I'm so happy. My friend Robin is doing live streams. She's getting into the whole crafting thing too, and she does live streams on Facebook, and she recommended these headphones and the mic thing. So I am so glad you, well, I mean, not that, I want people to just hear my voice, but I'm glad that is all you can hear. That way I can have the fan on and not have a heat stroke. So thank you for letting me know, Jenny. All right, let me get another blending brush going here because that's archival and this is distressing. So one rule of thumb, I don't always remember, but if you're using different like distress inks or archival versus distress inks and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you don't cross use the brush because that can damage one or the other of your ink pads. So I got that tip a while ago in one of the demonstrations that Tim Holtz was doing because he doesn't even blend ink, the distress ink with the distress oxides because similar colors, but they are two totally different mediums. So that's what he was saying. Just be careful, don't cross contaminate if you can help it. So I know these are going to be a more wet ink, um, right? Am I right? Oh no, this is a permanent version of the distress. Okay, good. Um, Sometimes I will go dangerously if the color I want is only available in a water reactive medium. But thankfully, today is not that day. Yeah, okay, this was a good idea. And the nice thing with these brushes is they do blend a lot faster um, than some of the other blending tools, which is good if you're trying not to take forever in getting your project done, specifically in a live stream. So yeah, this is good. Let me go ahead and now let's just do that one because I'm going to be tearing. Because again, I'm not too fixated on no, I'm going to stop there. I'm confusing myself. I'll get to my point in a little minute when it comes time to bust open the canvas. Right now, what I was thinking to say was not going to make any sense because it doesn't make sense to me. But that is not uncommon, which is just hilarious. And I know I'm putting the text upside down, but that's fine because the text pages or the book pages are not going to be the focal. They're just like adding an additional texture and element. So no big deal. If it's something that I would need the text to be right side up, then I would be more careful, if that makes sense. So let's see, how does that look? I am way off camera. I am so sorry. I can't even see it up there. Because sometimes you have to look into the viewfinder to get an idea of what does it look like all together. So that can help make adjustments if you need to fix something in your project. So let me move that to the side because I think I'm good with just the one piece of book page. So I think that should be good. No, it's too far. Let me back it out because again, I forget. I have Zoom in and out. It's hilarious. Like I've had this camera now for what, almost 4 years? 4 years, I think this year. Do I remember to do the zoom in and out? I do not. Because 90% of the time when I'm doing editing, I zoom in and out manually in the editing software. So yeah, it's funny. Okay. All right. So I think we're good because then when it opens, however way it opens, you'll be able to see enough of this to give that additional texture. But again, I don't want it to overshadow the focal. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. So let me move the rest of this. And again, moving it out of range for me to knock it off onto the floor or myself. Because, yeah, that happens, like I said, quite a lot. So let me also move that one because I don't think I need any more ink. I am going to, however, wipe off my mat really quick before I start getting in any other wet mediums. Um, I tried really hard to keep this pink one clean, but no, did not happen. Okay. All right, some of this is not gonna, it's not gonna all come off, but as long as I can get most of it, like the loose ink or paint or whatever, get that off, then you should be good. Okay. All right, so to recap now, we're just about done prepping the top portion of the canvas panel. I'm starting to come in and add in additional elements. I will still bring in some darker tones just because I like the colors, but it's a little bit too much, and this is starting to overshadow when I crack it open, and I don't want that. So let me get this down, and then we'll be able to go on to the next step in finishing off this top part. So here is where the paper towel is good for like squeegeeing out or squeezing out the excess water before I dip it into the medium. But just to be safe, let me scoop some of that out and put it on the mat just so I don't accidentally contaminate the container, if that makes sense. Where's my little shoo? Where's it? Okay, you know, this will work. I shouldn't need a whole lot, but I'll do enough of a blob to get a good coating to make sure that once it dries, it's going to stay stuck. All right. Because they're not huge pieces of book page, so shouldn't take too long to get them on there, get them dried, because I will use the heat tool, which is like my new best friend, especially in demonstrations for stuff, because sitting and waiting for stuff to dry, I am not patient. I think Dawn and I share that. Dawn at Shiny Silver Treasures, I think we have a couple of similar hiccups or hangups when it comes to in the craft room. Like, how about you guys? What is your patience level for waiting and letting stuff dry? Mine is like pretty much non-existent. Oh, yep, see? Not completely dry. That's okay. We'll kind of, you can use a little bit of water to kind of back that off. I mean, it's not too bad because again, you know, I'll be coming in with some darker tones. We'll kind of blend that in a little better, but a little bit of an oopsie. But I did say they like to happen. It's probably the best thing I'm good at is making oopsies with my project. So let me refresh the chat, see what, nope, okay, that's okay. Because I also have to remember what I'm saying there. You may not see the delay, but I know there is a bit of one, so I have to give it a second for catch up on the chat or refreshing and stuff like that. So, all right. And the nice thing about matte mediums, I forget who had mentioned it at one point. It is a wet medium, but compared to like regular glue for attaching stuff, it makes the paper curl less than what it normally would if you're using like straight up glue or Mod Podge. So that's also something to think of if you have the opportunity to keep some in your craft room, when you're attaching papers and stuff like that, especially kind of like a delicate paper like this, the gel medium makes it curl less than a regular glue, which, I mean, any paper will get wet pretty much regardless of what kind it is. It's just a matter of how much will it curl up on you depending on what you're using to attach it or paint over it or whatever. So I'm trying to be very careful. I think this corner was more dry. I don't see any paint really coming up. Okay, all right. I think I've got enough of the medium down here to go ahead and dry. Okay, so it's a little bit time consuming, and for the most part, when you get a feel, if you start trying out the busted canvas look, once you get the technique down, it will go much faster. But because I'm doing this as a demonstration, it's taking, of course, a little bit longer than it would normally. Because one, I did take the time to remember to list out what am I using, and then taking the time to kind of explain some of the stuff as we go along. So it's a little bit of chatty, but I'm having a good day staying on topic, and I will take the win because, yeah, it gets hilarious. Oh my God. So now I'm debating, do I want to do like a blend of brown and black for some darker tones to kind of start pulling it in? Maybe I'll do like some browner tones to pick up to grunge it up, and then maybe do some stamping with the black archival. We'll see. Because I didn't think to do that until just now. Because, yeah, this is how we roll. Okay, so while that, well, let me do just a little bit more. It's still kind of tacky. Trying to get it mostly dry before I go to the next thing here. So, yeah, okay. All right, I think what I'm going to do is grab my go-to stamp I use most. It was one, I cannot remember for the life of me which kit it came out of from Dawn at Shiny Silver Treasures. I want to say, was it her Floral Treasures? I don't remember, but it's one of my favorite stamps because it's got like the scripting on there and stuff like that. And it's small enough that it's easy to use it and maneuver it on the project. So it's so funny. I keep thinking I have to stop talking but no, the mic goes with me. So it's this one. This is the top half of that stamp. Love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, I love all Dawn stuff, but it's got that good combination of script, and then there's, the swirlies and stuff like that. I love it. All right, let me wipe that off. Ooh, yeah. And these silicone mats are so handy, and they might get stained, but they're so much easier to clean than like a regular mat. Because like if you get it in there and you soak it like in hot water, if I have any gel mediums or anything that get stuck on here, they will come off. Or if I have clumps of like acrylic paint, they will come off. Um, so just so you know, good thing to have. And I feel pretty sure you can find these pretty inexpensively just about anywhere. Home goods store, craft stores, cheap stores might have it. Okay, so you're not great on, yeah, I am so with you. That drying stuff makes me, okay, yeah, so I was right. Floral Treasures. Okay. Um, yeah, I just want to get to the next thing. I am so there. So there. Okay, wow, the chat is actually, sometimes I have to manually update it, but it seems to be doing pretty good today for keeping updated with you guys. So, all right, so it's good to know we're not alone. Impatience is a thing. Okay, so let me go back to the brown because again, I'm trying to stick with what I've got and not bring in too many extra things because if I keep poking around to find stuff, then it'll drag this down. Oh, that's black. Duh. Here is the brown. And I think I will go a little bit with this darker. Now, because I'm going with the same ink and the same colors, it's not a problem to use the same brush. Um, but I would not take this brush and go into the black or the other colors on this pad. And then I also obviously would not mix them with my other inks in my drawer, stuff like that. So if you're in the same color family, it's the same kind of ink, then you can just share a brush for that. I don't know why I'm going over there. Sorry. I don't know what I am doing, which is pretty much any given day. So, all right. All right, this shouldn't take too long to kind of get some more of the darker tones in there, like I said, and then I'll probably use the black to stamp. Just again, adding interest, a lot of it will go away, but that's fine when it comes time to crack open the canvas, because you never know which parts are going to show once you peel it open. So I try to cover all the bases, so to speak, as I'm putting elements down or inking or anything like that. So yeah, it's bringing it much more together now by adding in the darker tones. So it's good, it's good practice in learning how to keep light and dark areas to keep them balanced. It's not always easy. Uh, sorry, I hope that was not really loud. But it's fun learning. So I don't really think that it's ever possible for us to learn too much. Make sure, okay, still in frame. I don't think it's possible to learn too much. We may not have the time to do it all, but as you pick up stuff, you'll at some point you start finding yourself using little bits of this and that in different things that you make. Because like pretty much everything that I've learned in mixed media, I will take back and put it in a card. Absolutely 100%. And that is so fun to me because there's ways to do that where you're not building a ton of dimension in case it's a card somebody wants to give to someone, and if they have to mail it, then that way you can get a lot of good dimension without having physical dimension, if that makes sense. So, all right, I think we're good because when I come in with that black ink for the stamping, then that'll start again adding that additional element to kind of tone down some of that bright color, but I don't want it to all be gone, if that makes sense. So, okay. All right, now I will just need the stamp. Let me do a quick swoosh here because I never am good at remembering to wipe off the stamps. I did that once. I was using a stamp and acrylic paint and forgot to wipe it off, and that will absolutely ruin your stamp. So there's a little hard learned lesson that I had to go through. Staining, again, not a problem, but you still want to be able to use your stamp. So this part can kind of be tricky because it's still kind of hit or miss, like if I'm listening to the voice that tells me to stop. So I'm getting better. Oh yeah. Okay, perfect. But it still can be a challenge in ignoring that voice or not listening to it when the warning bells start going off. So I'll try to get some around the edges because then you're more likely to see that as you peel it open. So I'm staying more or less out of the center where I know I'm going to be cutting. But again, it's just adding the little bit of visual texture to the project, but not overwhelming it. Okay, all right, I think that's good. Voice said to stop. I'm going to shut this and listen. All right, so how are we doing? Good. Am I talking too fast? Am I staying at a, ooh, wax seals. Nice. Okay. Um, yeah, it's always good to have a nice relaxing day, and hopefully if I'm not too demented, that doesn't take away from the experience of enjoying your time. Okay, all right. So I think we're about ready to cut into this puppy because I'm not going to add any physical embellishments until after I've already got it cut the way that I want. So what I'm going to do is you can use a craft knife or you can have really pointy scissors. I love the Tim Holtz for this reason. They're super pointy. Just Be careful because I jammed a pear in my thumb when I was trying to open something in a way that I should not have been trying to open it. So just be careful. They are a hazard. So I got that started. And then typically what I do, and again, you'll find your feel for how it works for you if you pick this craft project up, is once I make that initial cut, then I take this top layer and place it on top of the bottom layer, and then I start peeling it. So before I do that, let me not forget, I am switching over to the glue gun. So I am unplugging my heat tool because I'm not going to need it anymore, or I shouldn't need it anymore. And it shouldn't take too long for the glue gun to heat up, but could take a little extra bit of time. I had to kick over to the big one because I ran out of the little stick ones. But I need to use these up, so let me bring a few of these nearby so I remember where they are. So funny. Oh, you know what I can do while that's waiting also? I almost forgot. Let me move it up here. White splashes. I knew there was something else I needed to do, and I almost forgot. I'm going to need some fresh water to kind of thin this out a little bit. And a little really does go a long way in terms of the white, especially if it's a good quality white ink that won't bleed much. Um, but a little does go a long way, so something to keep in mind if you need to make a purchase that, the one purchase should last you for quite a while. All right, so just adding some water. That should be good. That's a little too thin, I think. Because, you don't want it to be too watery. It's trying to find that perfect consistency. Because if it's thinner, then I think no matter what you're using, you'll run into the issue of the bleed through. But I think we should be all right here. Okay. Yeah, because this one makes the little smaller splashes. And then I'll probably pick up some with a bigger brush, but just laying down that first bit of white. And when I'm done with that, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see the speckles. Um, I could go change the water, but I really don't want to do that if I don't have to. So where's this brush? Okay. Nope. Let me get it wet this way. Because, yeah, that water is completely off limits now, for sure. Okay. All right. I'm a fan of the flick method more probably than the tap method to get the splatters. Because I kind of like that organic splash look where it makes like the streaks. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, I'll refresh it really quick just in case it didn't, but hopefully I am not going too fast or too slow or whatever. Okay. All right, so I'll just set that there for a second because that will need to dry a bit. Um, it doesn't have to be perfectly dry. It'll probably make my hands a little messy, but it doesn't need to be perfectly dry when I'm ready to start cutting. I'm just more or less waiting for this to fully heat up. So yeah, so hopefully, yeah, you guys are enjoying the evening, depending on where you're coming from, because I know it's evening in or late afternoon in the UK. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the evening. You guys got good weather. We're really hot. We should be sweater weather by now. It should be a lucky day where we get up to 70 or 75, but we're trying to get back down to normal temperatures. It has been so hot. Like it's just the weather has just been demented. So, yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna take another sip of coffee because there it is. Where did my mic go? Okay, see, these slide. I'm telling you, man, it's hilarious having a tiny head. It's so funny. Hopefully, when it slides, it doesn't take down the sound or mute me a bit. Let me see. I'm just taking a look at it, thinking if there's anything else I want to do while I'm waiting. I don't think so. Because any finishing touches I can do at the end once I get all the elements in place. I might come in with black and darken the edges a little bit at that point, but I try to do that at the very end, like one of the last things that I do. Because at that point, I would just be inking up the edges that are visible or, not where the peeled parts of the canvas are crossing over, so to speak. I am just obsessed with these. Oh, okay, so today it was rainy. I wish we had that and cooler. Because you guys had like a lot of hot weather this year? Is that like more abnormal on your end, Jenny? I feel like it's been abnormally hot for you guys too. All right, let's see. Where are we at? All right, I think we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting and peeling. Um, because it should be, yeah, it's not all the way heated up yet, but it's getting there. All right, and then I just make cuts and then I yank. That is like how I love to do the busted canvas. Seriously, I just tear the crap out of it and I love it. It is so much fun. I cannot even tell you how much I enjoy this process. So I just have to cut. Sometimes like I'll cut edges off of the flap if it doesn't look exactly the way I'm liking or what I'm going for. But other than that, I just tear the crap out of it. My favorite is actually when I get in there with like a saw and I literally bust part of the wooden frame, but that would take way too long and I don't think these would mute all that out. Oh my God, no. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, I think we're good. I think I got a good opening for what I'm going for. Let me kind of hold that down. Let me see on the frame. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, I might trim that a little bit and kind of fluff it a bit. And the pointy scissors are really good for like roughing up edges of stuff. I just need to not jam my fingers. Oh, no. Let me use the little ones. Sorry, they're even pointier. So, oh yeah, that's like a very, very fine point on that one. So I need to be extremely careful. So just play around with it. If you like where they cut it like a pizza, where you got more triangular slices into it and then you roll it up, do that. Absolutely do that. But this makes me want to be in destruct mode when it comes to peeling this open. Love it. Absolutely love it. So let me just get some threads. I think what I will do for extra added texture when I come to finishing it off is there's a gal, a lot of you probably have seen her. Yeah, don't you? Seriously, I think very strongly, Jenny, that you need to try this method for sure because you do so many awesome things in your projects. I think you need one more. I really do. And I'm reading the chat, um, but I'm trying to remember to at least face the camera. That's why I set it up like under the monitor that I look from or that I watch from. But yeah, I think you need this in your life, Jenny. I really do. So I say go for it. And oh, anyway, point I was trying to say, what was the point? I was talking about Vicky P. She's the one crafter from Greece. She works for Stamperia, I believe, and Simon Says Stamp. What was my point about Vicky P? I don't know. We'll see if it comes back. There's a thing that she does that I absolutely love, and there was the point to it, but then I got mentally distracted because that happens. Um, Dang it. It's gonna bug me now. Okay, I need to let it go. I really do need to let it go because we are in the home stretch for sure. Let me feel that. Yeah, that's good. I'm just trying to make a little. Oh, I remembered now. Um, she has started using drywall tape in her projects, just little bits here and there, and I absolutely love that aesthetic. So what I'm going to do when I'm done getting this part the way that I want it, then I'm going to bring some up. I got a roll to use in here, and it's a pretty big roll. If you do purchase one, it should last you quite a while in your craft room. I think, ooh, yeah, I could do that. Okay. Yeah, you're kind of seeing some of the process. I talk to myself a lot. I think that is also part of the crafting experience because, I do it at work too when I'm up and down the hallway to kind of remember what I need to be doing from moment to moment because I am the only one handling the lunch service in my building. So talking out loud is a very useful tool, but it does work in here as well. So, okay, all right, let me just kind of spread that open again and see. Yeah, I think that one I can tear it just a little bit more. So we got a little bit of a peak. Okay, perfect. I'm good. I'm going to stop touching it. I'm going to dip down and grab that roll really quick. And then I will check in and see if the hot glue gun is a go. So again, let me kind of move some of the stuff out of the way because when I start bringing in the flowers, then that's where stuff tends to get knocked off. All right, and then first thing I will do, even before I glue these open, I am going to show you how I attach the two panels together. So, yeah, let me move those. Dear God, I don't need to knock those off into my foot. It'd be my luck they would fall point down. So, I don't need any help being a walking hazard. Oh my God. I know it's a running joke with me. You'll hear me say that a lot, but yet it is sadly true. Especially now being in the post-menopause, like there's no boundaries to the body. I can walk into everything, knock stuff over, drop it, forget what I'm doing. It is demented. And at that point, when I have to cross that golden bridge at the end of my life, oh, you can be sure I want to be having a chat up there about, yeah, we need to fix this problem because girls should not have to deal with this crap. I'm just saying. It is so annoying. Oh my God. But anywho, okay, that's my mini rant, so to speak. All right, let me get this clean-ish. And then I'm going to use this brush to start with the gel medium, and then I will check the glue gun because it'll take a while to dry. That's why I start with the gel medium. I got time at that point then to put the hot glue on the corners and then put the two pieces together. So we are going in, and I am generous. I would definitely recommend being generous because once you get everything added on to the front when you're finished with your canvas, depending on what you're doing, then you have the weight of the two canvas panels together. And if you don't have a good adhesion in there, especially if you don't do the rope technique that I do to cover up that seam, then you could run into a problem where over time, the gravity, if you're hanging it up on the wall, the two sections could fall apart if there's not enough of the adhesive or an adhesive substance in there. So be generous because anything that kind of squirts out when you press the two panels together, you can wipe it off. No problem. That's the beauty of the gel medium is that it's not a quick drying medium unless it's a super thin layer. So you have time to kind of get everything sorted out once the two panels are together. Because in most things that I do, for lack of a better way to put it, I'm a safety girl. I want to make sure whatever I'm making is going to be as secure as I can make it, whether it's for personal use, professional use, and everything in between. So, you'll find what works for you, whatever medium, whatever method, you will get there. It just takes practice and experimenting. So for those of you that are new, don't worry about it. Or if you need to readjust what you're doing, if you've been at it a while, experimentation in this way can be your best friend of finding the technique because everybody is completely different. And that is what makes it beautiful in this industry. There's room for everybody, every level, every skill set, every reason why you want to craft, whether it's mental therapy with all the hilarity that goes on. Because, yeah, crafting therapy is definitely worth its weight in gold. Uh, and it definitely helps for sure. Um, but it also just feels good to know. I mean, just the satisfaction of making something is worth it right there, in my opinion. Not to sound like preachy or anything, but it's a journey as much as it is an experience. So, all right, so that should be good. Let me move that again so I don't send it flying. Let me check my glue. Are we good? Oh, perfect. All right, good to go. So this part I will have to shut up for a second and focus on what I'm doing. So please pardon my silence because I'm going to have to work quick once I get the glue down. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. All right. I have found it is much easier to come in with the bottom part and put it on the top one. But whatever method works for you, there's really no right or wrong. If it's easier to flip the top part over, do that. And what I am going to do, clean up these edges, make sure they're lined up a little bit before everything completely sets. Because sometimes, depending on the hot glue you're using, you can have a second to kind of shift a little bit, but generally not too much time. So I'm going to use some of the big craft clips at the corners and then a couple like in the middle to kind of hold it a little bit to make sure that everything is in place enough for me to go to the next step, which in this case is going to, I love right now, and again, styles and aesthetics change for us as we go along, but right now I love finishing off the canvas panel, the seam, I like to cover it up with nautical rope. And it's either the small natural twine, depending on the size of the canvas, like the mini ones that I'm working on. I'll use the small twine to do the same thing. And on these, I have that bigger rope. So, but again, it's an aesthetic you'll work out for what you like, what you don't like. So there's no right or wrong. I never, ever, ever come at this that my way is the only way, because that is absolutely not true. So just letting it compress here. This part usually doesn't take too long, but I just want to be sure because I have to stand this up and then start adding the hot glue to attach the rope to it. So I want to be sure it's as secure as possible before I do that. Because the last thing I'm going to want is to have those two panels come apart in the middle of trying to attach. Because, ugh, boy, wouldn't that be fun. So, all right, and we are in the home stretch. I promise we are wrapping it up. We're at an hour 40. So, thank you guys so much for being here. It is so fun hanging out with you. I just wish I could do this in a way where it was Zoom, where we could see each other, but I do not have the capacity for that. at this time. So, okay. All right. And also, as always, hopefully I've shared some good information, going forward for if you haven't done this yet, or if you want another technique to do it with, you know, anything and everything is good. I'm just happy to share what I am learning. And I know I've been posting stuff about new things that are coming out on my online shop. The biggest push for that, why you'll probably end up seeing more of that, is because I need to get that up and running before we hit our first craft show, which is November 8th. Because after that, we are pretty much going to be tied down with all kinds of craft shows from now through about the middle of December. So I'm trying to have to make sure that I get organized with the business stuff, as well as getting stuff ready for the craft show. So the things that I'm working on here for like the busted canvases, the mini, and all the other stash busting things that I've been doing is to use it up, move it out, and put it up for sale in the craft shows. Because I think this year more than anything, with all the budget issues that people are running into. Yeah, it would be. It would be really fun. If I can ever figure out how to do that, I'll let you know, Jenny. That would be so much fun. But going back so I don't lose my train of thought again, I'm trying to keep in mind economic things to put out there for people to purchase as a quick grab and go gift. Could be birthday, could be Christmas, whatever people happen to celebrate or need at that moment when they come through the craft shows. I think a lot of people are probably going to be a little bit more dependent on the craft shows this year to get stuff just because it has been absolutely demented. And I'm so sorry, the push of all the dementedness with pricing and whatever is got kickstarted from here. So my apologies. I do not use this space. There's no political. People are who they are. They believe what they believe, and that's a personal choice. But because of everything that is going on, is the reason I'm making the point is that I'm focusing on making things easy for people to acquire, but still have it look professional. Whether it's a $2 card that I have for sale, the mixed media projects, whatever it is, there's no reason why it can't look professional and still keep the prices economical. So by stash busting what I've got, that allows me to use up what I've already paid for and keep the cost down so I don't have to make anything egregiously expensive at the craft shows. And that's, I think, also why I really, really love the paper crafting, because you can still get paper pretty inexpensively and you can make so many things with it. I've been making the gift bags, I've been making card boxes, I've been making gift boxes, just whatever I can learn to make with paper, I've been doing that too. So, because again, I mean, we can't learn too much. And any way that we can learn to maximize our supplies is only going to save us money in the long run, because we are totally getting more bang for our buck with everything that we're able to use and to make with the stuff that we have in our room. So that's my spiel. But that's a lot of the driving philosophy. I know I'm not always good about saying what I'm thinking or where I come at from this, so I try to put it out there when I remember to, that yes, I'm a business, but it doesn't mean I have to be a complete a-hole in pricing and assume that, oh my God, I did this and so I can charge like a gajillion dollars because it's mine. Yeah, that is not a thing. That is not a thing. So, because, we're all in the same boat, and being in a business should not make any difference into how I come at it, if that makes sense. So, anywho, all right. I think we are good. That filled up some time. I'm going to go ahead and take these off. And then the next step is going to be adding that nautical rope. So I feel good. I feel secure. And again, I am making sure I'm going in the right direction that I want it to be in. So sorry, let me just put these back up here. I am so proud. I have been more than not keeping this room clean, because uh, it can be hella during the craft show season when I'm in here trying to get dash and get stuff done, and then half of what I need I can't find it because everything is yanked out all over the floor. So this is making my sanity level a lot better this year. I'm still way behind on my to-do list, but not a whole lot of help from there if I don't get on the ball, but at least I can find what I need, if that makes sense. So, all right. So for the nautical rope, again, because of where it is, having it be with just the hot glue should be fine because there are fibers, like it's almost like a fabric, that usually has really, really good adhesion with the hot glue. So I don't have any worries that once I attach the rope to the border to the outside of this panel, it's going to stay put because hot glue sticks really good to fabric type materials. And I have like pants that have gotten destroyed in here from wiping my hands off on there, and yeah, it don't come off. So this I feel good about and sticking to the rope. So, okay. All right. Hopefully I'm not getting too demented and off on a tangent chatty. My apologies if I veered off for a little bit, but hopefully it was relevant, if anything else. So now me being left-handed, I work this way, but it absolutely does not matter. This is not, it's only because I'm left-handed. So if you're watching while I do this part, don't think I'm doing it because this is the way it has to be done. It's just I work because, with the left-handed brain. But I will move this over, and please do not let me drop this thing on my foot. I have had a few near misses of dropping the hot glue gun down on the floor and just missed my foot or whatever by a hair. So, and again, you don't have to do this if you don't mind the raw look of having the edges exposed. You can totally do that. But I love the finished look of the rope and covering up the seam and then making it look like it was all one piece from start to finish. So that is why I am obsessed with using the nautical rope. And I do recommend, though, I have learned this the hard way, do small sections at a time with your hot glue gun. Um, I probably should have gotten my little silicone thingies like finger covers, but I did not think to grab them, and I'm not going to do it now. I'll just try to be quick of swiping off any excess hot glue and hopefully don't completely fry my fingers. It's a little stingy, but doing pretty good okay so far. And hot glue will roll off of your silicone mat too, which is also a good substance to use for covering your desk when you're working. Um, and then this way I'm not actually destroying my desktop because I use my desktop because it's got the gray tone. It makes it better to keep consistent light in your photographs because it's a neutral background. So in a lot of the thumbnail photos and stuff or photos that I put up at the end, I take them on my desktop for this reason. It's neutral, it keeps the light consistent, and therefore it's more important that I keep my desktop clean for this reason. So just saying, like I said, depending on what you do the crafting for, if you do the YouTube thing, just another little tip to add to your toolbox for the background stuff. So, all right, we are getting into the home stretch because I think once we get to the part where I'm attaching the flowers and finishing it off, that's going to go very quick. So we are nearly to the end, guys. And thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for being here. It is always so much fun hanging out with you. And I'm trying to make sure that I keep up as much as I can, even though I'm in the most demented part of my year, which is working, doing house crap, doing the business stuff now, and doing the craft shows and trying to keep it all going without falling over. Still working on that skill, but I'm certainly getting a lot of practice. Woo! And this is where coffee is like the most important tool in my craft room because God knows most mornings there is no functioning without it. Okay. Yep. Okay, and one more note about it. I do like to bend at the corner as tight as I can to keep it all tight as I can get it to the edges of the canvas panels when I'm attaching it. And then when I'm all done, then what I usually do, I don't know if I'll take the time here because by the time we get to the end of it, I could forget. I like to cover the back in black gesso. I use black gesso specifically because it gets a good layer, it gets really good opaque coverage, and it dries super fast. So that is a good way to finish it off so that way you don't have like the paint splatters and stuff on the back of your project. So that's another little side tip of, things that I do to finish projects off like this is more times than not, I will come in with black gesso to cover the back of it just to kind of finish it and get rid of any paint stains or smears or whatever is going on that day. So, okay. Yes, crappers are coming for, okay. Oh, awesome. Lefty. There's not enough of us, in my opinion, of left-handed, but yeah, it seriously, if you have things that are more expensive that you've made in the past, there's no reason why you couldn't maybe hang on to them, see how it goes, and then just put the focus on the more budget friendly. Because I like helping the people out as much as I can. I mean, yes, we're a business, but they're people too, and everybody's got budget concerns and everything like that. So it's not it's not mutually exclusive, if that makes sense. That we can be as budget friendly to help them out as much as making sure we make back what we need to keep the business going. So I'm still kind of figuring out like formulas because I know pricing for online stuff is completely different than physical product that I do for the craft shows. And again, the environment is completely different. So, things are priced a little bit differently. And because I have so much paper in here, I have not had to change my prices for the cards that I sell since we started doing the craft shows. They're generally like $2 a piece or 4 for $5, or whatever bundle kind of a thing I put together is what I go to because one, again, I'm going to make sure that the card looks as professional as possible, whether it's 2, 5, 10, or 20. Um, but I like having the option, if they need to stock up on cards, then I've got a way to keep the price on point where it's not breaking their bank. So that way I'm making cost coverage, some extra to put back into the company, but not in a way that is totally hosing them, if that makes sense. So, you know, it's my firm opinion. Nobody said a pretty professional piece couldn't be cost effective. Pretty doesn't have to be expensive, in my opinion. So that's the philosophy I take into all the crafting, from the card making to stuff like this to whatever, if that makes sense. So, and I know I'm talking a lot more about the craft shows, but that's the point of the year that I'm at where I have to, because even while I'm sitting here chatting with you guys and working on the project, literally in the background, that massive to-do list is still running and humming in the background of mentally going through all the stuff I still have to do. I don't think that list ever shuts up, to be honest. I don't even know if it shuts up while I'm sleeping, but thankfully I'm unconscious, so I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if I was still running through craft supplies and stuff I have to make while I'm sleeping. Ooh, that was a little bit too big of a blob. Okay. All right. All right, let me peel some of this excess glue off my fingers. Woo. Okay, sorry, one second. Bit of a slowdown because it's getting hard to feel the stuff because I got this glue all over my fingers now. All right, that should be good. Good enough. So are you then officially signed up for craft shows? Like how many are you going to be in so far, Jenny? We are currently registered for 5, I think. We might be picking up an additional show. I think the weekend of the 6th, but I have to talk to my friend Teresa. She's my craft show partner, and we just kind of coordinate. You know, I'll register for some, she registers for others, and if we can, we get ourselves each a separate table, but for the most part, a lot of the time, we've got a program put down to where we share a table. You know, it's just the way we lay out our stuff is different depending on which venue we're at. You've got 3? Okay. Are you going to try to pick up any more, or are you just going to kind of see how these go? Because 3 is a good number. That's a lot of busy work, especially when you're trying to get ready. Oh, that was on there too long. Okay. That was not a good move. All right. I might have 1 scorch mark today. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that was on there a little bit too long. But I'm only got 1 more side after this, so this should wrap up pretty quick. And then I can be done frying myself. So I think I pressed a little bit too hard on that one. I didn't swipe it off fast enough. Definitely, in this case, don't do what I'm doing. There are like, you could put gloves on, or they got these little silicone finger thingies, but I did not grab those out, and half the time my fingers are too skinny for them to stay on anyway, so I just kind of have to take the risk and try not to scorch myself too much. Okay, yeah, we're in the final stretch here. Okay, 3 is a lot that, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough, man. It's a lot of work. It is a whole lot of work to put those together, especially if you have to do it yourself. So 3 sounds like a good number. For sure. Okay. All right. Ooh, yeah, that still hurts. Whoopsie. Really caught myself on that one, but oh well. Crafting is not for the weak, as they say. Yeah. Sorry, it's just a funny little comment. Crafting is really for everybody, but you know, we love craft room humor. All right, so we are in the final stretch, and like I said, once I get past this point, it should go much faster to finish this off. So I think we're closing in on 2 hours so far. Yeah, something like that, which is not bad. I mean, I've been pretty good, more than normal, staying on task and being more or less coherent as I'm speaking. So I definitely take the win in that. All right, a few more blobs, but again, I cannot stress enough, do this part in small sections at a time, because sometimes if it doesn't go right and then you have to readjust it, by the time you get down to the end where the other part of the hot glue was at, it's usually mostly cooled by then, and then the thing won't stick. So, because again, ask me how I know. How did I find that out? So fails are good. They are very good learning tools, either how to do something else or how to not do something. So don't feel bad if you make some, because you really can learn a lot in either direction of something new or what not to do. All right, last bit, and then I can trim off the excess. And we are good to go to start. I will glue the opening. I'll get that positioned first, and then we'll come in with the elements, and then I'll just start tossing stuff together and see what shakes out. Yes. Let me just go ahead and use these. And this part is completely optional as well, but I usually will get a little dab of glue on the corner here just to kind of seal the ends of the thing off so they don't fray. So it's going to be a little hot, but I try to rub it in just, to get it worked down into the fibers enough to keep it from unraveling from handling if like you're taking it up and down or whatever maybe going on. Then this way I know the ends will be secure. So, all right, let me peel this off my fingers and let me see if I got a blister out of this one today. Because of course I had to do it on my left hand. Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think I might have a little bit of a blister on that one, but okay. Nothing new. Cuts, bruises, burn marks. Not abnormal for me. Okay. Ooh, all right, come on now. Let's get it off. Trying to make way for the next round of glue. Shouldn't be as much, but, you know. Okay, let me just wipe these off really quick. Okay. So that is while I'm talking about all the psycho schedule that I'm on, especially at this time of the year, that is why content is inconsistent. Trying to get back on comments and stuff like that can be, inconsistent. And just so we're clear, it is not because I don't love y'all. I love y'all so much. But oh man, this time of the year is absolutely demented, and I am not ignoring you, I promise. But it's just like, whew, we are off and running. Okay, so now I just, kind of tack it here and there. Sometimes, like, I'll kind of move them up a little bit so there's a little bit more of a curve to the flap. And some I like to put down where it's like a little bit flatter. So you just go with what appeals to you. Um, that's going to be your number one rule. Go with what your eyes like. Go with what appeals to you. And you will never be failed by that method or that rule, so to speak. So, all right. And it is hot, so work quickly. You can feel the heat through the bits of the canvas, even if you're not touching it directly. So this is where, kind of keep your fingers moving. That cuts down on the burn factor. So if I'd have swiped that glue off my thumb faster, then I wouldn't have caught it so good. But, whoa. I guess we can watch out for the tip of it too. All right, let me use that to come in there. Okay. All right, so this part usually goes pretty quick. So I'm gonna glue this one down where the blue shows because I think that looks fun. Same here. And if you get the stringy bits around, don't worry about it. That's usually something you can kind of get off of there at the end. So no worries if you get those glue strands for this first part of getting everything positioned how you want it. They're easy enough to offload when you're done. All right, one more. And I like the way that flap kind of is upright. So I put some glue along that fold in that piece of part of the canvas because I like how that looks. Same there, I like that. So I want to leave it, and I'm just kind of giving it a second to let the stuff cool down long enough because if it's still hot for a little minute, then it could still kind of slide around a bit because I did pretty good dollops on the back edge of the canvas opening. I think I'm going to mix that up a little bit. Oh yeah, okay, I like that. I like that idea. Okay. This was why I completely work by the seat of my pants for the most part because you just never know what you're going to come up with. and it's so fun. Love it. I love being crazy. All right. Okay, let me do a refresh just in case it's lagging. Refresh and nope. Okay, we're still good. Awesome sauce. All right, so let me bring in some elements. I've got this. I might put some of this down first because this is really fun to work with. It's already tacky, but if you don't think the tack is secure enough, you can always dab in some glue as well. But this usually does pretty good, especially because it's going to kind of be under the elements that when I use the hot glue to attach those, it'll keep this pretty much in place. But it is sticky because, again, it's a drywall tape. So it comes with the adhesive on it already, or self-adhesive, I guess would be the correct way to say that. Don't always speak in the correct way, but okay. And then I'm just kind of trying to break it up. I know that kind of got off camera, but let's just break it. Okay, because the good thing with it having the self-adhesive is it's easy to move around because it's not like a super heavy tack, but it also allows it to stay put for a minute when you're working with it. So you don't have to worry about it flying around. Like in this case with having the fan on, if that was like, if there was no stick to it, then I would have to worry about the fan and the air blowing it around and moving it from the spot where I want it. Okay, let me just do a smaller piece up here. And I still kind of go with the odd rule, depending. But sometimes you can cheat and do like an even number amount of embellishments or whatever it is. But for this, I tend to like the odd rule. So I'll probably do. Is my nose? I'm so sorry, my allergies. 1 second. Oh, I think I hate that incessant allergy drip more than anything. I'm glad I stopped sneezing because, woo, man, a couple of those, I thought my brain was going to come out with it because allergy season is so fun. Said no one ever. All right. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is keep it. Nope, I think I like it this way because I like that extra strand thingy poking off. I'm just going to poke that down. And that is good. That is all I want of the drywall tape. Now let's bring in our flowers. And I've got 3 of these, or 2 of those and a small one. So I will take just a second to kind of place stuff. But this part usually goes pretty quick because I try not to think too much. Because when you start overthinking stuff, that's where crap really can start going wrong. So yeah, I try to work fairly quickly. And again, it's learning that process of trusting your eyeballs because they will register things a lot faster than if you start overthinking it. So if you just be silent and let them tell you what you need to do. And let's see, let me look at the monitor is also good. I think I do want a couple of these though, because these are really pretty. And again, it'll tie in that white opening and the white speckles really, really nicely. But I think I need to trim some of this down. So let's put that back. Okay, all right. Stick for me. I think it's my fingers are still tacky. Oh, that's the wrong way. We're just gonna be silent about that because that was really dumb. That was a really dumb moment just now. Trying to tack it down on the wrong side. Okay, so let's do, I like the pointy ends, so I'm gonna focus on the pointy ends of these little blue strand thingies. I have no idea what they are. They were in clearance at the resale shop. I got them for a whopping 99 cents. I don't know when and where now, but it was a very cheap resource and I love it. So we got that. And one more. Let me do more of the tippy top so it's a little bit shorter. Because sometimes positioning can make all the difference too, of making things look bigger or smaller depending on how you place it. So we're going to do that here. Let's see, how does that look? All right, what are your thoughts since we're doing live stream as this is starting to kind of get the overview of how it's going to look? Like what are your thoughts here? Because feedback when I can get it is always helpful. Let's see, let me look at the monitor. I think it's coming together. I think so. And let me bring in some of the leaves. Okay, I need to cut that. This is where you can also invest in a good pair of snips or heavy duty wire cutters. I couldn't find my regular heavy duty wire cutters, but thankfully I didn't need them. I'm just kind of getting by with the little jewelry snips. So let me tuck some leaves in here and then let me take a second to get you guys' opinion on how this is shaping up. Or maybe I can kind of bring it. I know it's a little bit loosey-goosey because nothing is tacked down yet, but I'm just trying to give my eye the idea of what I need to do. Okay, all right. So I think that's about it. So almost tripped over the chair. What are your thoughts, please and thank you, on that? Let me zoom it just a little bit more. It's mostly in frame. Let me scooch it just a little bit. What do you guys think about the flower spray part of it? I think that might need to cheat out here a little bit. Just one little tuck. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll wait a second and shut up and have a sip of coffee if you guys give some feedback on how that looks. Okay. Oh yeah, I really did clock my finger good. Oh well. Okay. I think that might do. I think that might be okay. But share your thoughts. How does that spray look? Because I'm trying to follow the opening, so that way we get some of the busted canvas part up here, but then have the interest down on the bottom. And I tried to find like complementary colors to kind of go with both the background and what I painted on the front. So I think we did pretty good. I think there's enough variation between those colors and these colors. And then I'll get a little more when I darken in the edges where the flowers and stuff won't be. So, okay. Trying to give you guys a second to catch up. Yeah, I think today I could have a bucket of coffee and it does not feel like it would be enough. All right, where are we at? 2:13? Okay, not bad. It's not too bad. Ooh, excuse me, not too bad of a... I was going to use these, but I think that's too much. Yeah, we'll say no. All right, before I'm tempted, let me move this out of the way. Because temptation is a thing. It is a real thing. Let me clear some room out of here too. Move those over there. Let me move the scissors. Can get that out of the way. And where did this go? Ah, this one went flying. I thought something was missing. All right, here we go. All right, let me press that down. Oh, backwards. Dang it. Did it again. Tacky side down. All right. Okay. There we go. All right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I need to get this going because if I sit here for 5 years, then I'm going to want to take a nap. And how boring would that be for you guys? So I'm going to go ahead and start tacking stuff down. And what I try to do, if I can, is keep the stuff in place and kind of put tacky, the tacky bits of the glue down to hold it. And then where I come in, I'll see where I need to add a little bit more dollop of glue and stuff to hold it better. But this way, if I tack down in spots a little bit, then I can keep it the way that I want it to look without picking everything up, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna start here and tack down this little blue embellishment. Then I'm going to come in, tack down where the leaves are, and then kind of work my way up in layers, kind of hold it while the glue sets. Because again, because of the drywall tape is a mesh, a lot of the hot glue will sink down and help hold it in place, so I won't have to add any extra glue for that, if that makes sense. So let me go this way, and again, I'm gonna do a little bit of tack here on the blue thing where it's touching, some on the leaf where I want the leaf to be, or where the leaf is going to touch, and then just kind of press that down a little bit to get it in place while the glue is cooling. And then I can kind of, let me tack that down, because I think if I don't, the sucker's going to be rolling all over and it's going to break my brain if I have to keep fighting with it to stay in place. And then I think I like that leaf down there, so I'll tack that down a little bit so it's breaking up the space in the opening. All right, so I'm going to hold it in place. Okay. I think what I'll do while that's kind of cooling down, let me tack a little bit more here. There's not really any rhyme or reason when you're putting the glue down. Sometimes I will put it like on the canvas or the spot where I want to press the thing, or I'll put it directly on the element I'm trying to glue down. But whatever way it ends up working out for you is easiest, do that. It's just sort of the method I kind of fell into as I've been learning how to do more of these mixed media projects. So, but again, it has been super fun hanging out with you guys today. This is, as mental as I am slightly, this really has been relaxing because it was a really busy week. And I enjoy all the quiet time I can get while we start getting into the chaos of not only the school year where I work, but also the craft show season. And there's been a lot of late nights as I've been working on the digital content for the online store and stuff like that. Because, like I said, it's trying to make sure that I'm not neglecting the online store and getting content and materials up there. And speaking of which, I'm going to try to include more like free downloadables. I've had people ask, like, what is the style? Like, what is my process for, or standard go-to process for decorating cards? So I might make a few kind of sketch style PDFs because I have a few go-tos that I consistently do, especially when I'm doing like bulk card making that I will share with you. Because once you have kind of like a formula down as you get into the crafting, it makes life a lot easier when you have that kind of fallback method of getting stuff done, especially if you have to do a lot at one time, which a lot of times if you do the craft shows and things like that, you do have to do a lot of things in a short amount of time. So, just finding that strategy that works for you to maximize the time and getting both a lot done without being in here, your craft room for 8 days doing the same thing. when you have, 30 other things you need to make that's waiting. Um, so again, it's just about trying to make sure not only, from the standpoint of providing supplies that you can tap into, but also adding some stuff that you can incorporate, like with the sentiment sheets, my sketch style. I think I put up a few free downloadable digital pages from those collage books that I put together because that was purely for fun. Oh my God, that was so much fun. That is the whole reason that came about was just because I wanted to do it because it looked like fun and I thought, why not share it if people are interested? If not, it was still fun. It was still super fun. So, all right, I'm got pretty much everything tucked down, so we're almost done here with today's project. I'm just trying to make sure where these things are kind of along the edge of the opening that there's enough stick that when I hold it up to test it on, to hang it, that nothing falls off. So, but we are pretty much almost done here, so just a few more little wrap ups. Um, oh, well, would you look at that? Okay, where's my brown ink? Let me bring that back. Was not intending to do that, but, again, things happen. It's just learning how to work with the issues and make it be like you meant to do that. So I'm going to pretend I meant to do that because that sounds good. Okay, all right. I guess just in case I do that again, let me keep it nearby. Did not catch that blob of hot glue sitting there and didn't get it off fast enough. Okay, so this is the, nope, let me tack that down a little better. Alrighty, sorry my head is going to be in the way. I am so sorry. Hopefully my hair, the part that's gray, is not too shiny. Sometimes it's amazing how bright it can be when light is shining on it. Almost like a gazer beam some days. Oh, I'm telling you, aging is hilarious. And then I'm just going in because I cut the stem down or popped it off the stem. I try to get in between the layers to also make sure that they don't fall apart because, once they come off that stem, that can happen a lot where all the other layers get really loose and then you have to worry about them falling off. So I try to kind of secure all of it as much as I can. Okay, all right. Okay, just clearing some of the cobwebby strands out of the way. I gently tug on it. I know you have to kind of give it a second for the glue to set before you can tell for sure how secure it actually is, but I do tug it a little bit as I go to kind of see if there's any other areas that I might have missed. So I love working with these fake flowers, but it is something you definitely need to be sure that it's secure, especially when you pop it off the stems. Because typically, of course, that's what's holding it together, all the layers. Okay, all right, I'm gonna let that sit for just a second and then I'll do another double check on the security. Okay, all right. So while I am waiting for that, let me move this out of the way because again, hazard. Ow, I am going to then come in and darken up the edges and that will also be another final texture element to bring a little bit more interest to finish it off. So let me go back to the black and I'm going to use this because at this point I can't remember what's on there and it's going to least likely damage the acrylic paint pad. So I'm just going to use that and see what I see, and if there's any little zhuzhing that I want to do, then I'll come back in and do that. Just gives it kind of like a frame, bit of a frame. Yeah, I think you can kind of see like how that difference is. Like this end has it, see it makes it look more dimensional. There's more depth to it than this part that only has that light bit of brown. No, that's okay. That's no worries. I know you guys got a lot going on. No worries for that, Jenny. But yeah, that's fine. I'm just, it's fun hanging out for sure. But family is a little bit more important than me blabbing into a camera. So let me just get in there and do a bit of the rounded edges. So it's just, like I said, just these little things that you can add at the end. Just kind of has that little bit that just ties it all in together and makes it look more complete, if that makes sense. Okay, I don't want that completely pressed down, but I wanted to get a little bit of ink in that opening. So yeah, I'm probably getting a little quiet right now. And y'all could be like, thank God she shut up for a second. But I just want to finish off that frame. And normally I will paint the sides, like the whole edge of the canvas panel, but I like that white. It adds another layer of interest in this case and adds different color more or less to it, like another layer of color, I should say. But yeah. But yeah, this is definitely my new big addiction. Like I was so excited the first time I saw the busted canvases that they were making. I'm like, "Oh, we can have fun with this." And then today, as you see how it is for me when I get going, just so much fun. And we are almost done. I'm just adding the ink to this last side, this last corner. And again, just stressing, use as much permanent inks, colors, paints as you can, but use what you got. If you don't have a lot of options, that is perfectly fine too. I'm going to leave that one white. Use what you got is the number one rule. Okay. So now just by adding that little bit of edging, it is complete in my opinion. It's framed out, but it doesn't detract from the focal point. So it brings in a dark element, picking up the darker tones in the paper that's in the opening. And again, they're complementary, but it's not identical. I didn't want to do like the speckling and all that like it is here, out here, because then it would be too monotone, and then you would kind of lose that differentiation or distinction between the two layers, for lack of a better word. Um, so let me clear this stuff out. We'll take another quick peek-see at it. And then I think that is a wrap for today, guys. So again, thank you so much for joining in. Before I forget, let me unplug this because I don't, oh wait, let me double check. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. I don't need to add any more glue, so we can shut this off now. Everything is pretty well stuck down that when you go to, well, let me do a little bit there actually. When you go to hang this, or whoever ends up with this, that everything will stay in place. And because these are fabric flowers, fabric leaves, and stuff like that, the glue will stick really well for these elements. Metal ones, like I suggested earlier in the video, you're going to want to use, you can do a hot glue combo like I did to put the two halves together, but you're definitely going to want to be more leaning on the side of using a gel matte medium or a matte medium or something like that to hold metal embellishments on your project, because hot glue alone in the long run will not hold it. Um, it will not hold it permanently. So just some food for thought on that. Let me clean off some of the stringies. And I think I'll do one thing. I did this technique the other day with that reverse canvas and I loved it. In parts where there's some like of the hot glue showing, I went and covered it with some of this Nuvo drops. It's the glitter drops in like a blue. And I think this will be a fun little accent to bring in to cover where the hot glue is showing in some spots. Okay, so we'll do that. And took a little bit here. Just a very tiny way to add a little bit of sparkle and a little bit more interest to this project without overwhelming it, if that makes sense. So, because that's the beauty with the mixed medium kind of work or mixed medias, is you get a little bit more leeway in adding little details like this without going too far. And again, keeping with the rule of three, I did 3 spots where there was some hot glue poking out. And not trying to do like an even blob or anything like that. Okay, all right. My last little zhuzh, and I will put the stuff down. I will stop touching it because this is the part where I can get into trouble and, ooh, yeah. Good things can go bad so quick at this point. So I'm going to listen to the little voice that says, stop it. Okay, let me move that away. Okay, and let me carefully pick this up just so we can get a better look at it where we're not distracted with all the paint smudging from when I was making the watercolor paint last weekend. Which I got some of that mixture wrong, so I'm going to have to redo some of my paint, but that's okay. Still learning. So it is all good. Let me unplug this. Sorry, 2 more seconds to kind of tidy, quick tidy to make room. And then we can sign off for the day, evening. Okay, let me put that down. Yeah, let me just completely move it away from my elbow. I am not feeling safe. Not at all. Okay, and now we got a nice clean desktop for the photo. All right. Okay. So that is it for today, guys. It was so much fun hanging out. Hopefully, I did share some good tips and tricks on my process for doing the busted canvas. But any way that you end up wanting to do it is absolutely perfection. This is just one other way to look at it. This is not you have to do it this way. Um, but I've been meaning to do the mixed media, so I thought I would take advantage because then it's also a project done and dusted for the upcoming craft show season. So Jenny, as always, it was so lovely hanging out with you, and for those of you that tuned in, same. So yeah, that was it for today. So enjoy the rest of your evening, your day, whichever time zone you're coming from, and have fun. And as always, you guys take care, stay safe, and I will definitely be seeing you guys in the next video. All right, take care, guys.